What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Quadcast, the show where we get real, get raw, and get loud about mental health, substance use, and the fight to take our lives back.
Each episode, we're cutting through the stigma, dropping knowledge, sharing stories, and bringing the heat with guests who have lived it and aren't afraid to talk about it.
So turn it up, lock in, and let's break barriers, spark change, and build a community that refuses to stay silent. You're tuned into the Quadcast, and let's get into it.
You can find us on Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, or email us. The Quadcast is always looking for new guests, whether you're individuals that have experienced it, you're in law enforcement, treatment programs, nurses, doctors, or anyone that just has something to say. Come share your story with us on mental health or substance abuse.
Warning, there's cussing in this video. If you don't like swear words, well, you're
watching the wrong damn show.
All right, so we're here with Dave Taylor, and Dave is a very crucial part of the recovery system, treatment system in Beckley, Morgantown.
Basically, yeah, the entire state. I cover everything from Charleston south, but I also cover over in the Randolph County up into Tucker and the other counties up there. So it's a weird portion of the map that I cover, but I think it's almost 30 counties.
Okay, that's a lot to take on. But anyways, Dave's gonna take us through some of his background and some of the reason that he's in this field of work, and probably a whole lot more. So, Dave, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? And
first of all, man, I appreciate it. And what you guys don't know is we had a great conversation for about an hour and a half before we started.
It was like an hour and 29 minutes.
But I've been in recovery for almost 8 years now, and work for Wise Path Recovery Center. All I do all day, every day is try to be a positive force in getting people into treatment. Why do I do that? Well, like so many other people, my addiction started with a joke. It started with I found out that my fiance at the time was fooling around, and I looked at my buddies and I'm like, guys, what's customary here? We get a bottle of liquor, right? So I mean, it was like whatever. No,
drink it away.
It'll
be fine tomorrow.
And I was like, I woke up and I'm like, man, that was fun. Yeah. And I want to do that again. And then it turned in to like, okay, I want to do that again. I want to do that this weekend. I want to call off so I can do that 3 days this weekend. I want to spend every dime I have on liquor and strip clubs, because it was like I fancy myself like almost like the Charlie Sheen character on 2.5 Men. It was a mess. I still stayed employed, and the worst of it, I was working in the Division of Juvenile Services. I'd worked in the DOC and came over to DJS, and I joke, and it's true though, the only place you can continue to get promoted when you're as messed up as I was would be in West Virginia government, because I knew so many people.
It makes sense.
And so, I'm a hardcore drinker, and I did not know what benzos were. I didn't know what like Xanax and Klonopin. I didn't know.
Sure.
And I went to like a nurse practitioner, just a little clinic. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm having a lot of anxiety. Well, the anxiety was basically because I was drinking so hard. The hangovers were triggering panic attacks. I remember she even asked me if I drank alcohol. I said, yeah. Write me a prescription for Klonopin. And I'm like, okay.
Straight to Klonopin.
Holy shit. And 0.5 3 times a day, bam, bam, bam. So you mix that with alcohol, and I was losing days at a time, right? Sure. And so, yeah, and and still showing up to work just enough to not get fired. And eventually it became an issue because I would show up at a facility I was in charge of discipline for the southern part of the state. I was a hearing officer guy.
Okay.
I would show up at 3 a.m. at the facility in Mount Hope with a bag full of sheets food, blasted. Like, bring them over here. We're going to have court. You know, like just obnoxious stuff.
Right.
And so I had to do like the walk of shame and went back to the director and I'm like, I got a problem. He's like, no shit. And
So you took it upon yourself?
Yeah, like because I knew it was coming.
Sure.
You know, was I ready to get better? No.
Right.
I got on Google and I was like, because I didn't know anything about treatment. And like, wow, if you Google, you see all these amazing places in Florida that just so happen to take PEIA. And I'm like, cool. And I started reaching out, and it was almost like a bidding war because at that time I didn't know how this business was ran.
Sure.
And they're like, oh, no, we'll take care of your flight. We'll take care of this. Like, they really wanted me down there for PEIA so they could bill it, like out of network, like, you know, all this stuff. And I went down there and I hung out in like a private mansion and did a couple of meetings, maybe. Got drunk in the airport when I came home. And when I came home, I remember everybody's like, I went to my brother's house and they were having a bonfire and I grabbed a beer. He's like, what are you doing? I said, no. I went down there to get off the benzos, man. I'm fine. I can find the drink. Just bullcrap, you know? And so I went on about it and I was working and I was in a restraint with, I don't know how many of them there were. And I was just basically in a situation where I'm holding the dude and just taking the beating from everybody else. I didn't have a radio because I wasn't in the best frame of mind. And like, I don't know how many minutes it happened, but what got me was a guy, one of my guys who finally walked by and seen it, jumped on top of me. And he jumped on top of the pile. And he was a big boy like me. And I just felt my back just do something like, I didn't know what it was. I knew it was bad. And so I fractured L1 and L2. Damn. So, you know, I'm already drinking heavy. Sure. I'm already on Klonopin heavy. What do they give you when you break your back?
Probably Oxys.
Percocet. So now, and I'm on workers' compensation. So I'm getting paid. I think this is the ticket of all tickets, man. And I laid around. And at first it was like I had a lot of people around because it was a party. Like, holy crap, this is like, you know, I got money coming in. But then it was like it started kind of getting pathetic. Mm-hmm. And I started isolating. And when I isolated, you know, you look at me now, I'm 268 pounds. At the height of my addiction, I was 574.
Really?
I laid around and, man, just isolated. I drank all the time. I was so sedentary, I didn't do anything.
Holy crap.
574 pounds. 2 mild heart attacks in my 30s, dude.
Really?
Yeah. It was bad.
Holy crap.
And, you know, I became a professional victim.
And it was influenced by the state and prescription writing.
Oh, yeah. It was, you know, as soon as I got, like, I was in bad shape. But man, when the opioids hit me, I was in love. And people say, "Well, what did it make you feel like?" Like, it made me feel like the ultimate warrior running down the ramp in the WWE back in the day. Even though I wasn't running anywhere,
right?
But it made me feel different, right?
You're on a different level.
Oh yeah.
Different dimension.
I was, dude, and like it was. As soon as I woke up, it was like. I would have my pills here. I'd reach over and grab my whiskey. And that was normal all day, every day.
Chasing one drug with another.
Oh, yeah. Just totally, you know, bad. And even at one point, I was having so much trouble with my stomach and this was back when I was still employed, but I was having panic attacks again because, you know, when they say rot gut, they mean it.
Yeah. And
they showed me pictures of the upper and lower scope, and they're like, man, you're drinking yourself to death. I'm like, whatever, I'm fine. And it was nasty. Like all the ulcers and all the things that I had didn't stop me. And like I said, when I was isolating, I remember like my mom, God bless her, like she got to the point where she couldn't even be around me. But she would always text me and be like, food on porch. She would always drop a plate of food off.
She's still taking care of it.
Making sure I was at least fed, right? Because she knew I wasn't going to use any money on food. and she would drop that off, and like there was no interaction. And like I said, I became that professional victim. I remember telling myself, like, I had this wonderful career, and God cut me down in my prime. And like, you look back now and think, if that was your prime, aim higher.
Yeah.
Like that was your prime.
Yeah.
But I became that professional victim, and to the point where, like, I would always joke, like, one of these days, guys, y'all gonna find me dead. Like, I would say it all the time, and it was on my mind all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people this story, and I say I always preface it with, I knew that my phone was not at my house. I knew my phone was not at my house. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I was really feeling bad for myself. Oh man. I even talked myself, I said, you know what? Your family doesn't care at all. They haven't even called you to check on you. My phone's not at my house. My phone is not at my house. But I'm using that, saying, all right.
Using it as an excuse to drive yourself further.
I'm like, all right, then I'm going to show them. And that's when I grabbed, a handful of like muscle relax, anything I could find. And just poured it down my throat, poured it down with like whiskey. And I remember I sat down on my couch, and I started feeling that convulse. I'm like, oh no. And I said out loud, God, I didn't want to do this.
Sure.
And I made it to the front door, got in the yard, and just fell. And the dude had watched me grow up my entire life. One of my mom and dad's good friends still lived across the street. I was living in my childhood home.
Mm-hmm.
Called 911. And they got me in the ambulance. I remember when I came to, the paramedic was a guy that I went to high school with. And he's like, Dave, when are you going to quit this stuff? And I looked him dead in the eye. And I said, fuck you. Like, I was so jaded at, this guy just saved my life. I didn't care. I was mad. I was mad because I didn't do it. I was mad. I felt like I had failed at my last thing that I could control was my suicide.
Sure.
And so I failed at that. I was embarrassed. Yeah. And even though at the end I said I didn't want to do this, I had still failed.
Right.
So I get out of that.
And now you're in a place of judgment almost.
Oh, yeah. And like, I lied to everybody about it. And like, I remember my little sis, man, she's like, I know what you did. And I'm like, you can leave. Like, I don't want you around me.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know what I'm going through.
Yeah. Nobody knows. Nobody cares.
Nobody
could ever understand.
Nobody ever. Woe is me. I am the victim. And like after that, I went through pancreatitis 2 times. Second time almost killed me. And I drove myself to the hospital, and I was like a 0.3 something. And I drove up there, and they're like, what are you thinking? Are I was in the hospital for like IV fluids only for like 17 days.
Oh my God.
And I remember like day 14, a kid came in, and they put him in my room, and his family brought him KFC, and I about lost it. I'm like, either get him out of here, it was nuts. And both times I would get out of the pancreatitis and go I'd go across town to the liquor store and let's keep going. And people always say, well, what was your turning point? Like, because here I am, I'm in the work, I'm a walking ticking time bomb, blood pressure, blood sugar out of control. My heart's already going away, pancreatitis, and type 2 diabetes off the charts. And I didn't care about none of that. Like, I used to walk around saying, if I make it to 40, it's a miracle. I truly didn't care. But one morning,
you were just going through the motions.
Yeah, I was surviving. I wasn't alive. And one morning, I remember, because I tell people in addiction all the time, we have this reality in our head of who we are and what we do. And my reality, like I said, I thought I was like some kind of Charlie Sheen guy. I even wore the dumb bowling shirts. I swear I did. It was bad. And but that's true for everybody in addiction. You in your little clique or whatever, you're somebody in that clique.
Sure.
And I remember I looked in the mirror one morning, and I saw myself for the first time for how, like, in my words, pathetic I was. I'm like, what happened to you, man? So that clicked. Wasn't the turning point, but it was something that it was on my mind. And so I was even trying to start walking a little bit while I was still using, trying something. But the ultimate, like, here's your moment, like, sink or swim. And this is why I'm such a big fan of tough love. Is, I was at the point I lost everything. I got a settlement from the injury. I'd blown it. I mean, I bought so much, pills and alcohol, dude. Like, and what happens when you blow it all, and then your friends are gone. And I'm air quoting that, the friends. Yeah.
Well, we're friends. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
we're friends.
yeah, and so I woke up one morning in my parents' garage, and to this day I don't know how and why. And I walked over to the house and I knock on the door, and my mom's like, "You're not welcome." She said, "Until you get help, you can't come back here." And my dad he's my best buddy. He was my best buddy. He was in a wheelchair from Parkinson's, and I was like, "Dad, where you at? If I can get Dad to come to the door, Dad's going, come on, he's going to co-sign for me one more time." And
just like one last time.
One more time, Pops. And he goes, "You heard what your mother said." And I'm like, "Oh." So, but addict brain goes, "Okay, if I can just get in their house."
Yeah.
I was like, "I need to borrow a phone." Man, they gave me a landline. And like when I tell that story to people, I'm like, anybody under 30, a landline is a phone with a pigtail that's connected to the wall. And it was already making a call to a woman that I've known my entire life who ran the crisis unit at FMRS. And I'm like, "I guess I need help." She's like, "Get over here now." I'm like, "Well, I'm going to do my laundry." And she's like, "No, now." I'm like, "Okay. I'm not built to be homeless. I didn't want to be homeless."
Sure.
So I didn't plan on, all right, I'm done for good, man. It was like, this is my plan. I got to figure some stuff out. This is going to buy me some time. At least I won't be, homeless. And so I was going through the motions, even at detox. And there was a moment during detox that I will tell you, I think it changed the entire trajectory of my life. About the fourth or fifth day, a woman came in, and I noticed that she came in a cab.
Mm-hmm.
And like, being in a detox, a lot of it's like it's almost like being in jail or prison. You want to listen, you want to find out everything about everybody. So she's in there doing her intake, and I find out she has no family. She's homeless. She's on, I don't know how many different kinds of drugs. She's got all these psychiatric situations. Nothing. She has nothing. She's 61 years old. 61
Wow.
years old. She's on oxygen.
Holy crap.
And the only thing she cared about was the fact that she could not smoke cigarettes while she was on oxygen in treatment. And you want to talk about something hitting you like a ton of bricks. I'm like, what? This is like a grandma.
Yeah.
And she's mad she can't blow us up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be that. And like, I really had that moment of, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Like, this woman,
But that was a turning point from me to, hey,
yeah,
she is going to cause issues.
And it's like, wow, I don't want to be 60 years old and have a cab drop me off because I have no family, no loved ones, no anything. And so it was like, that was like, okay, man, I'm really going to give this a try. Because then like day 5, day 6, I'm like, wow, I am starting to feel better. It's nice not to puke up blood every morning. Like, maybe there's something to this.
Right.
And so I did the detox, and I did intensive outpatient. I was there. I did Vivitrol injection, which, a lot of people.
How was that?
I love, Vivitrol for me saved my life. Vivitrol is an injection you do once a month, and it definitely curbs the cravings. 1,000% does. And like also for opiates, if you use an opiate while you are on Vivitrol, it will send you into an immediate withdrawal. Okay. It will make you feel like absolute hell.
Yeah.
And for me, that was kind of like that absolute built-in. Like, I got this for a month, and like every time I sat down, you feel it a little bit. And you're like, I know it's there.
And I had somebody tell me that they were on the Vivitrol at one point, and it didn't do anything but make them want it more.
Wow. But see, that's the thing too. Like, a lot of everybody responds to a drug in a different way. It worked wonders for me.
But I've
But
heard more success stories than
yeah,
not.
and like
but-
it came with like a lot of like X amount of group time, X amount of one-on-one time, and for me, I prefer one-on-one because like I was so serious and dialed in that I could not stand people to come to the group and
Sure.
screw off. I get mad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, y'all talking about anger management. I'm getting pissed right now. You know, like, so I was doing, but I was like, really, like, I was all in. And I went back to my parents' house and, like, I was like, you know, Roger from American Dad. I lived up on the 3rd floor because it was like, you know, I don't want to go back to anything to do with wearing a badge. I don't want none of that.
Right.
I got to fix me.
Sure.
And I was still walking every day, rain, sleet, snow, walking, trying to do the right thing. And I knew like one of the hardest things is the reality, and this is for everybody who's in addiction. And even this is advice for families who have a loved one in addiction. We know when we come out of treatment all the bad shit we did to you.
Right.
We know that we stole. Man, my dad was in the VA nursing home. And I went in there one day because I only see him all the time, no matter what. But I went in there one day and I'll never forget. I stole $8 out of his little drawer from bingo. And when I got clean, I went back and I said, Dad, like I feel like an ass. I got to tell you, I did this. And I said, I stole $8 from you. He said, I know. I said, you did? He said, yeah, I knew you were sick. He said, but that don't matter anymore. And that's what I tell people. It's like, you got to look forward. Because if I come home from treatment and you're telling me, hey, remember you stole this or you did this, or you did, that's all that negative.
Right.
What's it going to make me want to do?
Yeah.
Well, if you still
Live
think that
in
I'm
the
a horrible
negativity.
person, yeah, if you still think I'm a horrible person, I guess I might as well be a horrible person. Like, I just kept my head down and was trying to do everything right, trying to do all the things. And gradually, I embraced it. And my first job back into any of the workforce was I worked night shift at what was called Turning Point for Women, and the woman who was the director of that was the same woman who got me in treatment initially.
Really?
Yeah, and I worked
So
midnight shift.
Full circle.
Full circle, right? And like, so I had never held a baby in my life, and there was babies, right? This girl came up to me at like 3 a.m. one night. She's like, "Can you hold him for a minute?" I'm like,
yeah, I don't know how.
I mean, I'm like as stiff as I can be, right? As stiff. But I learned a lot there. And I started doing like a morning check-in group. That was like the beginning of my anything. And I was there and a job opened up for law enforcement assisted diversion. And of course, it said you got to have a degree, you got to have all these things. I'm like, well, hold up though. I have a background in law enforcement. I have a background in addiction and recovery. I'm going to apply. And I convinced them to give me a shot. And
Was it hard to convince them?
I mean, in a way, yes, because they were so strict on you don't have a degree. I'm like, I promise you, I will build this program. And so I walk in like the first day and I asked, the guy who had been there, I'm like, how many referrals have you guys got in Fayette County in the past 2 years? He said, 0. I said, oh. And I noticed that they were just kind of sitting around like in their office. I was like, do we have access to a car?
Right.
Yeah. I said, all right, I'm going to go get a car. And that's when I came up with the philosophy of if you're sitting at your desk, you're not doing your job. So I started hanging out with the police and like started going out and telling them what we could do. And it was an uphill battle at first.
Sure.
And, it took a lot of like learning what people needed to hear. A lot of people needed to hear, we're going to save you money on your jail bill. A lot of people needed to hear, I can save you paperwork and BS. A lot of people needed to hear, hey, are you tired of this guy being here all the time? Let's try something different. And we built it into the numbers wise, it was the biggest program in the state. And, I think a lot of it was because you had guys like, Sean Cam was my cousin. He saw me go through all my stuff. He was also the captain at the sheriff's office. And he said that he'd always write on the board every day, like, hey, don't forget about Lee. He actually sent me one and he went out there and met her when she left for treatment. It was really cool.
Really?
and stayed in contact. Yeah, it was really cool. Like, he bought in, and
Sure.
so a lot of people bought in, and that was successful. And it was like a lot of people didn't understand that working in recovery keeps your recovery going, you know. And so then I went to work for Harmony Ridge up in Walker, and was putting people in treatment, and I learned a lot about, you know, well, there's a lot about the stuff that I don't particularly care for, and this is not, and it wasn't because of Harmony Ridge. It's just because when you get into the side of this industry, and it's not just in this industry, it's all healthcare. You learn about insurance.
Sure.
And how
insurance is the driving force to
insurance,
one extreme to the other.
Man, insurance is the worst because you have no power over your care.
Right.
Your insurance company does.
And they don't give two shits about if you're receiving good care or not.
Like, I'll give you an example, like, Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
And like, somebody will call me and they want help. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, when's the last time you used? And they'll say it's been like 4 days or 5 days. Well, after 3 days, Medicaid says they don't require detox. And like,
are you serious?
Like, if you guys don't realize, day 4 and day 5 are the worst, right? Like, that's hell.
Yeah.
And it's like little things like that. Or, people say, well, why is treatment only 28 days? I'm like, well, you want to know the real science behind it? It's all the insurance company will cover. And so,
is that like straight across the board, or is that just Medicaid?
It's straight across the board.
Shit.
I mean, it's dealing with insurance companies. It's a fight.
So we put a time limit on recovery.
Yes, you better get it right in 28 days. Get it right in 28 days.
Everybody's got to be uniform enough to complete that cycle of treatment in 28 days.
Right.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
None.
We got to do this in 28 days.
Yep.
And by God, if you've used 5 days ago, you don't need detox.
Man, that's the one that hurt me the most, and I found that out the hard way because I didn't know. I was early in my career,
right?
And I was talking to this guy. I'm like, I got you, man, I got you. And when I got to call this guy back and say, they said you don't meet criteria. He's like, what the fuck you mean I don't meet criteria? I'm like, and I told him, and he said, so are you telling me I got to go use? I'm like, no, please God, don't do that. I said, please don't do that. And I've had that with several people are like, oh, do I got to go use? I'm like, don't use. And that is just one of like the thousands of things that they throw up at you. But what's great about, I'm at Wise Path now, and we still have to fight those same insurance battles. But what's good is I like the fact that, with the state ran organizations, it's just checking boxes, right? Where we're a private company and we don't run off of grant funding. Mm-hmm. We have a lot more. We got to meet all the criteria for the Medicaid or the Blue Cross or whatever, but we can actually, on a one-on-one level, figure out what's the best way to deal with this person instead of like, everybody go to this group, sit here for X amount of time. We're going to bill for this unit. We're going to go on to the next one. No, like, that's not who I am. That's not who we are. Yeah. It's like, what makes you tick? Like, I want to know, because everybody heals in a different way.
Everybody's different. Everybody's receptive to everything differently.
There's people that are like, they'll say, Dave, man, I can't do this group shit right now. And I'm like, cool, we'll figure it out. We'll get you some private sessions. If we can work you up to it.
Right.
Like, that's a common sense thing. Whereas if you're in a program that just checks boxes, they're going to be like, oh, tough crap. Go get in the group.
You're just putting in the days. You're not there for the treatment. You're putting in the days to say you put in the days.
And that's the difference between people who say, let's put some heads in some beds. And I'm like, don't ever say that around me.
Right.
Because and I said that. I think I said that on social media a few weeks ago and caught a little flack. I said people count the number of people they put in treatment. I count the number of people who stay there and who want to go to long term. Yeah. And like that, A lot of places work off of a bonus structure, and I'm
But
like,
that's
that,
the actual success side of
It
it.
is.
That's the
It's
successful numbers. Just because their heads in a bed don't mean shit
no.
in theory.
Well, if their heads in a bed, are they engaging? Are they learning? Are they? Because everything in like addiction comes down to there's some trauma there. There's some mental health there. There's some coping mechanisms that are broken there. These people are broken, and when they come in, you got to love them. Regardless, you got to love them and like a lot of the times, you can tell they have been loved for real in a long time. And that was, and it's weird for me to say because I used to be this big giant ogre who was like, "Don't hug me."
Sure.
And now I'm like, man, like when I meet my people, and I get, I call them my people. I give them a big hug, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm Uncle Dave, and I'm there for you, no matter what. You call me." And they have called me. I had a girl call me about a month ago. I just happened to be in Chapmanville, and she came through our program, and I guess a boyfriend had thrown her out of a car, thrown all of her stuff out, and she calls me screaming. And she did what I asked her to. She called me, and I showed up.
Right.
And she'd been drinking, and I was like, "Let's go to the hospital." And I finally got her convinced to go, and she got back into treatment. Or I could have just said, "It's not my job."
And that brings up something I've been working on is a failed leadership episode, and it comes from a podcast that I was listening to myself, and he brought up the fact, and it's going to come from a first responder standpoint because that's what he does,
Mm-hmm.
But to be a true leader is 24/7, 365 days a year. There is no clocking in, clocking
Mm-hmm.
out. And that's where a lot of the leadership is failing, is because your subordinates and the people under you have to be able to reach out to you for anything. Now, that doesn't matter if it's work related or personal related. And he brought up the fact, he brought up an actual instance of guy, they were off work, and guy called him. He was sitting on a dirt road getting ready to end his life.
Mm.
And, he puts it out there as, what are you going to do, big bad leader?
Right.
Are you going to be there for him? Or are you just going to roll back over and be like, shit, he'll be fine in the morning?
Yeah, I couldn't sleep on that.
Who could?
No.
I mean, I couldn't.
No.
But that's the leadership that, the fire agencies are struggling with, law enforcement agencies are struggling with, is because you get promoted to a leadership role just because you're the next best candidate, not because you're suited for that role,
Right.
not because you're suited to be a support specialist, but because you check off all the boxes, kind of like the insurance deal.
And that's and that's one of the best things about what I do. And like Doug Leach is our owner and founder, man. Like when he brought me on, he was like, "Just go be Dave Taylor." He said, "Just go be you and bring that energy. I don't clock in, I don't clock out. I don't have a set schedule. I don't have hours.
Right.
And everywhere I go, I post 24/7, 365. Give me a call." And I always tell people, if I don't answer, but within 5 minutes, I got you back.
Right.
I'm gonna call you back every time. And there was one night in particular, and you talked about that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I had a phone call, and I do my ice baths like religiously. I'm in my ice bath every night.
I've been seeing you. I ain't up to that.
I'm telling you, it's amazing. But
I don't even like to go outside after it goes down below 70 degrees.
I'm trained for it, man. This guy,
I think you're just crazy.
I am. Well, that's my wife says too. This guy calls me, and I knew him personally. I knew he worked in the treatment field, and immediately I could tell something was really wrong. Now I'm up to my neck in ice, and I'm like,
he wasn't in the river this time.
Not this time. And I'm so afraid if he hears me being in the ice bath, he's going to think he's bothering me. He's going to hang up.
Yeah.
I sat in that ice for almost 40 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And like, I didn't have hypothermia or anything. We got him into treatment, man. It was a lot of mental health issues. And like, I thought it was a bad night. And I talked to him about 6 months later. I said, brother, can I
You
tell
were still cold at the 6
Yeah,
months.
I was still froze. I said, brother, can I tell you something, man? I said, when you called me that night, I was up to my neck in my ice bath. He's like, why didn't you say something? I said, well, buddy, you weren't in the best headspace for me to be saying
You were having
something.
a worse time than I was.
I said, so if I got to sit here and freeze to help you, like, not make sure that you don't end your life,
Yeah.
that's my job at the moment. But that's the human element that I'm never, ever going to take out of what I do.
But that's the human element that what you do requires.
Yeah, you have to.
But that's the whole aspect of it is we've lost the human sense of everything. We've lost humanity.
Well, like a lot of it, and this is a working theory that I come up with, is, when the whole treatment thing took off, like it became a thing, right? And you had these national companies, because West Virginia always gets invaded first by the national companies, right?
That's because we lead the country in most statistical numbers out there.
All the bad things. So they come in,
even football.
Yeah, oh God, don't even get started. We're a hard edge, but like, so they come in and what do? They immediately look and say, oh, that thing helped for West Virginia. That's the gold mine, air quote. That's the gold mine to get into everything.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Quadcast.
Remember, breaking stigma doesn't stop when the episode ends. We're building a movement, and you're a part of it. Stay strong, stay aware, and stay connected.
And this is the Quadcast, signing out.